Hey guys, Adam here with what's probably going to be my last SimHub tutorial for 2021. It's hard to believe, about a year ago now I started this channel just to help people out learning all of the cool things you can do with SimHub. More to come next year in 2022. Keep sending me your ideas and I'll keep getting these videos out there. If there's some old ones that you're finding that seem a little out of place or out of date, send me a message. I'll maybe redo some of those. It was a bit of a learning curve for me on how to make videos for YouTube this year, but we're getting better, and I appreciate all of your support over this past year. So what are we talking about today? Today we are going to talk about creating a pit stop delta, or the amount of time your pit stop is going to take. Now this is the first part of a widget I'm working on for SimHub, and this does require some JavaScript, so we're going to get into that a little bit. Full disclaimer, I am a Python guy by trade. I love Python. I do enjoy JavaScript, but I only know enough to get by. So some of my methods might look a little wonky. If you are a front-end dev, I apologize in advance. But if you are a JavaScript expert and you can see some things that I'm doing that I could improve upon, please post in those comments below. I need your help just as much as other people are looking for help here. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to build out a calculator that you'll be able to display on a dashboard or an overlay that will show you approximately how long your pit stop should take, including drive time down pit road, refuel time, and we're not going to include tire change time in here because currently for IMSA and ESS and iRacing, you don't need to swap tires unless you just are an hyper aggressive driver and you manage to chew up your tires. I still don't know how you do that though. So right now we're just going to look at refuel time. I promise nothing I'm going to do is going to be over anybody's head. I'm going to walk you through this every step of the way. Now, one caveat to this, I was attempting this part and trying to refine it a little bit. And I reached out to RomainRob in the official SimHub Discord, and he updated his iRacing extra properties plugin for me, which makes this so much simpler than it was, which is why I'm now able to do this video. So thank you, Rob, for that. I'm going to put a link to his latest file, his DLL file, down in the description below. When you download that zipped folder, you're going to find two files in there. You want to take those two files, and all you want to do is you want to copy and paste those into your root SimHub folder, which for 99.9% of you is going to be under program files x86 SimHub. Just put them right in that SimHub folder, and you will see these properties that I'm about to walk through here with you, and if you want to modify them in any way, shape, or form, you'll be able to do that. Or if you just want to copy this dashboard that I'm making here today and take the pit duration calculator and just drop it into a dashboard of your own, some of these properties won't work without Rob's latest plugin, so please make sure you have that before you come back and say, hey, this doesn't work. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get into it. So I've already created a new blank dashboard specifically for this. I've added a text box, which you can see in the background, and I've gone into the text binding function on the right-hand menu. I had to think of which hand I was using there for a moment. And right here, we're in the text binding box. By now, if you've been watching my videos, this process should be very familiar. You should be able to get here no problem. So once we're in the text binding box, we're going to click computed value. Now normally we would use an encalc formula for a lot of our things, just open bracket and put in, I don't know, class relative gap. This is one of Rob's plugins as well to player, and we'd be good to go. We're not going to do that today. Today we're going to check this use JavaScript box. Now this is going to utilize the JavaScript engine within SimHub and not the encalc engine. Now this requires pure JavaScript but it's a little different in that there are some core JavaScript functions that just don't seem to work within SimHub. There's some notes in the SimHub wiki that show you how to import and add additional JavaScript functions. I will do a video on that maybe one day, but that's kind of outside the realm of what I like to do in my, like I said, my JavaScript knowledge, not the strongest. So when you're working in JavaScript in SimHub, though, there is one function that you absolutely above all else must have. And hopefully this is eligible on the screen, but the one function you need is going to be the $symbol and prop. The $symbol prop function allows you to import any of the SimHub properties into the JavaScript engine. Now, the other thing, too, that I forgot to mention is when you're using JavaScript inside of SimHub, all of these functions and calculations are all independent of one another. So if I create this calculator here to determine our estimated pit stop time, I can't then take that result and use it in a different JavaScript function. So what you would have to do then is just copy and paste all of the code for this calculator into something else if you wanted to then use that result to say, there's a number of things I could think of to use that result for, and we'll get to that in a future video. But so that $symbol prop, that's what we need. The other thing we need when we're using JavaScript is we need variables. And you identify or define a variable just by typing var for variable. So the first thing we're going to do is by doing the double backslash, we're going to make a comment line. And we want to get the pit lane. I can't type. The pit lane drive time duration. Now, this is one of the new properties that is available in Rob's latest plugin. Again, down in the description, click the link to the Google Drive, save it in the SimHub root folder. So what we're going to do is we're going to do variable, and we're going to do this as pit drive time. If I can type correctly. Pit drive time equals, and then we're going to go with that $symbol prop. We're going to open brackets, a single quotation mark, and because I've already got this over here on my notepad, I'm not going to type it all out. I am just going to copy and paste. Now, this is the one downside to JavaScript over NCalc, is you can't just hit open bracket, start typing something, and it'll auto-filter. You have to know what property it is you want to use ahead of time. So I recommend in the SimHub main window, go to available properties, click that checkbox that says show game specific properties at the top. You've got that search bar there. You can search for whatever properties you want to use, copy the name, paste that to a notepad, a text editor, however you want to do this. And then this way, when you get into the text binding window, you can just simply copy and paste. So now we've created our first variable, our pit drive time, using that properties function that is built into SimHub. And then we just want to put a semicolon at the end of the line. So the next thing we want to do is we now have our pit lane drive time calculated. We need to get how much fuel we are going to add at our pit stop. And once again, I'm going to cheat a little bit to save time in this video. And I'm going to copy and paste because I've done this already. So this is our variable to get the amount of fuel we're adding during our pit stop. So variable refuel, we're going to use that property function again, and then we're going to pull in the game data raw telemetry pit stop fuel add in kilograms. There's a reason you want to pull that in, because liters or gallons, if you use freedom units, doesn't quite work. I do everything in metric, so just this is the property you want. Trust me on this one. Now what we need to do is we need to calculate, well, what do we need to calculate? So this is where you will actually have to do some work. You're going to need to go into this code. And why did that do that? That was weird. That pasted upside down for some reason. So we need to calculate the refuel time. We're not going to calculate it. We're going to enter it. Enter total refuel time per liter of fuel. There we go. So this is something you need to go and test in advance, because the refuel time, I did some playing around with it, is different depending on what car and class you're in. The prototypes refuel faster than the GT3 cars versus the Porsche Cup cars. Not that, well, I mean, pit stops in Porsche Cup don't happen, but you need to know what that refuel time is. So what I recommend you do to get that number, go out, drive a lap, have your pit refuel set to like 5 liters, go in, pit, take a look at how long that total pit stop duration was, divide that by 5, enter that number in here. So I did some testing in the Porsche Cup, and for the Porsche Cup car, it was about 1.6 seconds per liter of fuel that I was adding in. And that's this refuel time number right here that I'm highlighting. This is the one that you're going to want to go in and manually edit. You could build out a array in JavaScript, a 2-dimensional array. If you know what that is, more power to you. If you don't worry about it. But you could build out an array that would have a list of all of the car names and all of the distinct values for the refuel time, and then just recall that. We don't want to get that advanced today. We just want to do a quick test. Okay, it takes 1.6 seconds per liter on average, because if you do multiple tests, it's always good to average that out. We know that our refuel time there is good. So now what we need to do is we need to calculate our total refuel time, which is our next variable that we're going to add in here. So our total refuel time is a simple mathematical equation, equals our refuel variable, which we're pulling right from the iRacing telemetry, and we're going to multiply that by the refuel time, which we have done ourselves. We've kind of tested, we've calculated, right? You all went in there. Nobody's just going to use my number and then complain that the pit stop took longer or quicker than expected. Go test that out. Find that number. Find the number that you feel comfortable entering into this equation. That will give you the total amount of refuel time. So now we want to calculate our pit lane delta, or a pit stop delta. How much time is it going to take us for this pit stop, including driving down pit lane? And we need to just do something very simple, another mathematical equation. So our pit lane delta is just now adding both of our properties together. So our total refuel time, which we've calculated up here, plus our pit drive time, which is calculated thanks to Rob's plugin. This, I can't tell you how grateful I am for Rob for doing this, because the way that I was doing this was originally about 26 different lines of code. I've now got it all here in one, so thank you. Thank you again, Rob, for that. That makes this so much easier for me to share out and walk people through how to do it. All right, but now we've got this. But if you look down here in our raw result, the answer is null. I don't have iRacing open in the background, but you still shouldn't get a null response returned. So what we need to do now is we need to actually tell SimHub what value to display on our dashboard. So that's where we are going to use this return function. So we are going to return our pit lane delta, which is this total calculated time that we've done up here. And then I've added this toFixed, and in parentheses, you'll see the number 2. So what this toFixed does is it takes our pit lane delta, which if you looked at the raw number is like 17 decimal places long. Like, it is a very lengthy number. The toFixed function rounds that to 2 decimal places. So now you see here in our raw result, it is 120.00 seconds. And there you go. So now what you've got is you'll have on your dashboard, you will have this estimated time displayed on how long your pit stop will take Now, obviously, if you are faster or slower getting in and out of the pit box, that is going to fluctuate a little bit. I would estimate anywhere from plus minus 5 seconds. So this is anywhere from 125 to 115 seconds based on the data that I've got. I'm using some recorded telemetry in SimHub, so I can still get these numbers. And what you can do then is you can then scroll through your black box relative and see, okay, who's 120 seconds behind me, or whatever that number actually might be, and get an idea as to where you will fall on track after your pit stop. And that's the second part. That's what I really want to make this get to. But we're going to stop for here for today, is we will then build a second calculator that will use this result and tell us what position in class or overall. I will make sure you can determine which one you want to use, that you will fall in track or on track after you have made your pit stop. So that's it. So hopefully I was clear enough with walking through this. It's a quick introduction to JavaScript. JavaScript is very complex. There's a whole lot more that you can do with JavaScript. I'm keeping it very, very simple for this first video. And you can now calculate the estimated pit stop duration, including drive time down pit lane. No, I'm not factoring in here the amount of time loss for in-lap and out-lap, because there is a couple of seconds there as well. You could add that in there. Like, let's pop back here real quick. Like, you could also add in here variable in-lap time. Whoops. In-lap time loss equals, let's say you lose 1.5 seconds on your in-lap, variable out-lap time loss, and let's say you lose another 1.5 seconds on your out-lap. We're going to actually move these up here. And now what we can do is we can make our pit lane delta equal total refuel time plus pit drive time plus in lap time loss plus out lap time loss. And now we're at 123 seconds for our estimated pit stop duration. So play with this. This actually is going to require you to be somewhat of a race engineer and come up with some calculations in advance on your own. So if you're one of those guys who unfortunately doesn't have a whole lot of time and you jump in your rig and you go race without any actual time for practice or testing, this isn't going to be super helpful for you. But if you are like me, at least where I have been lately, where I am spending some time testing rather than racing, so that when I do get to race, I feel confident in that I can be competitive. I will have calculated these numbers out in advance and written them down on a notepad so that I know this week IMSA is at Circuit of the Americas. And for as much as I hate that track, I'm going to be racing it, and I'm going to be running the endurance event there on Saturday. I will have these numbers already entered into this equation, and then I will be able to very quickly reference the result from this and my relatives in the black box to see where I will fall on track, because I might want to wait or pit one lap earlier than originally planned if it means I am going to not fall behind a bunch of GT3 cars if I'm in the LMP. So it's just something to think about. There's a lot that you can do. This is the first step in towards building sort of an automated race engineer that's going to be able to tell you, hey, pit now, pit later. I know a lot of you use Crew Chief or Digital Race Engineer or Race Labs or CAPS or whatever it is you use to calculate when you should pit. This is just kind of one more tool that you can add to help you better your race strategy. So if you've got any questions or comments about this, please post them down below. I always try to do my best to respond to those in a timely fashion. And if I don't, I apologize. Sometimes I see a question, a comment, and then I put my phone down and I don't get back to it, and I just completely forget. So I apologize if you have done that previously, but let me know if this video was helpful. If you like what I'm doing and you want to learn more, please give it a thumbs up so that the YouTube algorithm can help connect these videos with people looking for SimHub information. Those thumbs up really do help. More than you'd actually think, especially for a small channel like this one. But that's it. That's all I've got. So I probably won't post any more videos until January if I don't. And if nobody else messages, or I don't message, or we don't talk in Discord. Everybody enjoy the holidays. Have a safe and happy new year. And we will see you in 2022.